Okay, not much planning for this one. This is totally an impromptu live, but I just had to jump on. And so, happy Friday, everybody. Hey, it's Wei, CEO and co founder of Limitless Leader. And in case you don't know who I am, we specialize in helping entrepreneurs and leaders with teams to scale up and out of their business without sacrificing revenue and growth. Been doing it for 20 years and stuff like that. But anyway, what I wanted to do was jump on here and share before the yummy goodness of what was learned, give you some context. Had a unexpected call from a client that we worked with 15 years ago, and to just kind of let you understand the type of business that he had was a health supplementation company that was one of the early ones that would sell online. And when he started working with us, this was back when we were still taking businesses that were only making 5 figures a year, super startup, but had a great vision and had that work ethic to really execute. One of those ideal clientels that would say, hey, do this, and they just do it, right? And then we were able to, during our time with him, scale him up to making 300,000 to 400,000. And as we stopped working with him, the momentum was taking him past 500,000 and 600,000 a year in revenues. Well, come to find out, he's far surpassed over the last 15 years the 7 figure mark and headed up towards the 8 figure mark, and then was acquired by a larger health supplementation company and was able to make him an offer that he couldn't refuse, and he was able to scale up and out of the business. But what he was calling to do was just kind of catch up, randomly thought of me and thought he'd reach out, and we just started diving into talking about what I'm up to and what he's been up to, and some of the timeless gemstones that we both got out of our time working together, growing his business. And the reason why I want to jump on today was to talk about how some of the principles that even 15 years ago still apply today, and it's part of our framework of how we help businesses with teams and the leaders scale up and out of their business. And so wanted to share that so that it's like time tested almost in terms of how everything works. And the name of this live is called The Puzzle Pieces of Sustainable Business Growth. And the part of the framework that this has relevance to, and when I shared about what we were up to over here at Limitless Leader now, 15 years later, he said, wow, I mean, what you guys are doing is exactly what you were doing with me 15 years ago, but in a more concise and less sloppy. We both agreed that the way I was approaching it was very shoot from the hip, very sloppy 15 years ago, but the principles were sound. It just wasn't as tight and as optimized, so to speak, as it is today. But anyway, the part of the framework that I want to share today, that, I mean, there was a lot that we talked about, but it has to do with the culture that he created, that he attributes to the majority of his success, and how he was not only able to sell the business, because here's what happens a lot of time: you sell the business and then the larger business cannibalizes the business and people lose their jobs and everything like that. Well, he had created such an amazing culture using the principles that we talk about today all the time with our scale up and out framework, that all the people that went to the bigger company were able to keep their jobs. But not only that, the system and the culture was so good that it ended up impacting the larger organization. And so they were the company that acquired his company was able to continue the growth pattern without having to break it apart or cannibalize it, because we hear it all the time, right? A company gets acquired, culture doesn't match. Oops, oh well, we'll just kind of take the best pieces and we'll just ditch the rest, right? Just because they can. So if one of your goals is to not only scale up and out of the business, but potentially sell it without having to worry about the livelihood of the culture you've created and the people that you brought on, almost like family, then you want to pay attention to what we talked about today, because and I'm going to share kind of like what was going on during the business when we were building it 15 years ago, to how he was then able to create this sustainably scalable business model that took him from 5 figures to 8 figures. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into my favorite virtual whiteboard so I can give you context on the frame on the frame of what was going on. Anyway, you can probably tell I'm super jazzed from our call and everything, but here we are. Okay, so let's talk about where things were in the beginning. So in the beginning, okay, it took a while for us to figure out because this was 15 years ago. Okay, so earlier version of the framework. Jonathan was basically running the supplement business, and he had a few people on the team. They were just kind of like doing random things. Okay, it was not clear as to who was doing what, but everybody just kind of wore multiple hats, right? Well, first things first was we organized everything and organized it into the early version of the Easy 3, right? Remember, if you've been following us, which is acquisitions, fulfillment, and let's go, operations, right? Now, in the beginning, what I'm going to do right now is convert his team members, okay? There's more than 3, but let's just say for the sake of demonstration, he was trying to run his model based on how everybody runs an online health food supplementation model, okay? And he identified there were specific roles that needed to be filled, and what he ended up finding was that, this role, for example, the circle role, had this set of requirements and tasks and skills and abilities. The square role had a list of tasks and abilities. The triangle role also had a list and tasks of abilities that were required in order to execute it properly. And he was building his business based on circles, squares, and triangles. The problem was each team member they were good at some of the things, but not all of them, right? They're good at this one and these two and this part and this part. And so the other parts that the team members were not good at it just kind of fell to the wayside. And so there were a lot of gaps, and he just didn't know what to do. So back then, 15 years ago, we said, well, would you be open to creating a more customized role for each of these people? He goes, well, wouldn't that be a nightmare to manage? It's like, well, I don't know. It depends if you want to manage it like everybody else manages it. So here's what we did, okay? So what we did was, I'm going to change the color so it's a little bit, so it's like the end result, okay? So what we did was we went and identified the strengths of each of his team members. And this is one of the earliest version, and because we had such a good rapport that he was willing to guinea pig any idea that we were discussing. So instead of making everybody a circle or square, peg, or triangle, we started imagining each person was a puzzle piece, right? But a different puzzle piece. Okay? That first puzzle piece was more like a puzzle piece, but you know what I'm talking about here, okay? Okay, so what happened was we started looking at each of the team members, staff members. At the time, he had about 5 to 6, and identify, okay, well, let's look at them as puzzle pieces. And each puzzle pieces has a specific set of skills and talents, right? And what he started to do, because he was young and ambitious, he said, well, okay, well, let's run with this way. Why don't we just make up roles for each of these pieces based on what they're good at, and then because he loved puzzles, he loved Sudoku, he loved all these types of games that he would play. Because I noticed that those are the types of games he was playing. Sudoku was the big thing back then, and so what he did was he started saying, okay, well, let me shift this around. Let me just have these people do what they're good at, and whatever's left over, let's find someone who actually likes doing that and hire them to take those roles. So he hired other puzzle pieces and then to take on other roles. And so next thing you know, you have this seemingly motley crew of team members with random titles and random roles to play in the game. What we didn't know that we inadvertently started to do, which was kind of like the precursor to the Scale Up and Out framework, was that we started to create what we call today, a custom culture. And the nice thing about this is that there was a byproduct where he told me, said, Wei, ever since we did that, I couldn't pay to get rid of these team members because they were so happy doing what they were doing. And during the pre-pandemic and the pandemic time, one of the things he said was like, it's pre-pandemic. I was having trouble trying to manage some of the finances. There was a hiccup they were having. There was a year where it was like, revenues are going down. And when he shared that with the team, some of the team members literally say, hey, if you need to give me a pay cut to make sure that we make it, I'm willing to do that. Okay, I want you to hear that again. An employee went to our client, Jonathan, said, I can tell, thank you for being transparent with us, and I know the company is struggling a little bit right now, but we believe in the bigger vision. If you need to give us a pay cut or give me a pay cut, he said not everybody did, but a handful of staff members said that, we don't want to lose our jobs. Give us a pay cut. We will manage. We'll figure it out. We're here for you. This, and it's not just Jonathan, we found over the years that when you create a custom culture where your focus, okay, this is an eyeball for focus, is on the well-being and cultivating the perfect environment for the people responsible for helping you run your business as a leader so you can stay out of the day-to-day. This is when you start to create a sustainable scaling culture where people will work with you, your staff will work with you as a team, being the puzzle pieces that are focusing on working what they do best to do that. And so all Jonathan had to do during that time when we're doing this was figure out how the puzzle pieces came together. And if there was any gaps, he would go and find the solution for it, whether it be a technological solution. Back then, technology wasn't as good, so it was usually a human stack solution. But what happened was he was able to create this culture where it was the scaling and growth was in a way that's what he was able to sustainably keep going up without sacrificing HR, sacrificing his human staff, and all those different things. So this is what he shared with me on the call, which was so exciting because I didn't even prompt it. I was like, this is exactly what we're trying to communicate to people, the importance of recognizing that, instead of pushing people a square peg into a round hole, why not recognize everybody for what their natural strengths are, create an environment that fits them, change the name of a role if necessary, or the requisites of the role, just so that they could stay in their strength, and then fill in the gaps with people who are better designed to do the other tasks that someone else can't do, instead of trying to fit it into the traditional corporate model of how everybody's supposed to run their business. And he applied this in his acquisitions pillar, his fulfillment pillar, and his operations pillar. And even outside vendors, he started to kind of question or ask them or interview them in a way to make sure that they are a good fit into the puzzle piece of his tapestry of his business. Okay. This, he said, is hands down what made it so easy for him to continue to focus on the critical leadership activities so that he can navigate the tough times and focus on always continuing that scalable, sustainable, timeless growth. And when he shared that with me, and I shared it with him about what we're still doing to this day, which is something similar. I mean, there were things that we did back 15 years ago that we don't do anymore. And he recognized that, like, yeah, that wasn't very timeless. I mean, it worked in that moment, but I don't think you could do that today. I was like, no. But the custom culture piece, the nurturing the human component of your organization is never gonna get old. And in fact, if you truly want freedom away from the grind of your business and you have a team that is there and is willing to be dedicated, how do you make sure if they're willing to be dedicated, then why not make the environment the best environment for them to thrive in? Because when they thrive there, they take that home with them and they thrive at home, and vice versa. Okay. When I told him that we also help people both inside and outside of work, he goes, well, that's new. Could have used that 10 years ago. I said, well, I don't know. You disappeared on me. So, but anyway, was super happy that he came back. But I just wanted to share that just to pass on the gemstones of this timeless knowledge that was demonstrated to take a 5-figure business to 8-figure status, then be acquired, and not have it be cannibalized. Okay, so if that's one of your dreams of what you want to do with your business, to be able to take it to that point, then that this part of the framework is completely applicable. If you have a team of 5, 10, 15, 20, it doesn't matter. If you are willing, because you can always do it, but if you're willing to create that custom culture, that is going to give you rapid, sustainable, long-term, if not permanent, time freedom away as a leader to focus on the critical leadership activities that you are naturally designed for, to make sure that your business continues to thrive and stay resilient in changing times and dynamic. Now, am I going to say that you're going to always be thriving? No. Like Jonathan's business, there was a couple years where he goes, uh-oh, what's going on? But he didn't have to worry about people jumping ship because times are bad. They were in alignment with him and realized that if they go anywhere else, they probably would not be nurtured, seen, supported, and cared for the unique talents that they have, like they would at his place, unless they jump to another client of ours, and maybe that would be the case. But anyway, I don't know. So I just wanted to share that. I know it's a bit of an impromptu, a little bit all over the place. So hopefully you got that. If you are looking for to go a little bit deeper on this, we have a variety of different worksheets and video trainings that I could share with you. Just comment below or send me a DM. And again, like as per usual, there's no opt-in or anything like that. I'll just send you a Google Drive link or whatever link it is that gives you direct access to those resources. But other than that, it's end of the week. If you are watching Super Bowl this weekend, enjoy, be safe. Go Niners. Well, we were Niner fans before they even went to their first Super Bowl, so I'm not a new Niner fan. But anyway, I will just see you in the next video. But hopefully you got some good stuff out of this one. All right. Talk to you soon.